Hello and welcome again to me trying to put this Mercruiser 470 engine back together. It's a 470 3.7 LX. Now on the last video I was putting the push rods and the cam followers in, and number 4 cylinder exhaust valve push rod was bent. Okay, this is it here, there, and it's bent. Tried to sneak it straight in a vise and it broke off, so I've got to buy a new one. Did me a favour. Okay, now I've got to look at why that bent. I've got an idea why it bent, and I'll come to that at the end, but there are a few reasons that would cause a push rod to bend. Now on engines that have been stood for a while, you can have the valves seize in the head, in the push rod, in the valve guide. So when you turn the engine over, the camshaft lobe rises, asking the valve to open. The valve seized in the head, and the push rod bends. I don't think that was the case with this engine, because when I stripped the head down, all the valves came out really easily. Another reason a push rod can be bent is a valve timing issue. Now, if you've got a timing issue, that means that the pistons and the valves aren't running in time. So that means the piston would come up and make contact with the bottom of the valve, with the head of the valve, which in turn would stop the valve from opening, which would bend the push rod. But 9 times out of 10, it normally bends your valve and puts a big dent in the top of the piston. I didn't have any of that. So, and the timing chain and everything is bob on. So I know it wasn't a timing issue. Okay, now I've had to sort of look at it and try and work out why this push rod bent, and what I came to the conclusion is when I picked the boat up, there's a set of muffs, like coolant muffs, on the leg, which is just behind me, and I've got a feed. I thought that somebody might have put the muffs on, flushing muffs, plugged a hose pipe to it, turned the tap on, because in the exhaust on these Mercruiser engines, you have got a flap that stops a backflow of water coming up the exhaust and flooding the engine. And if that flap was shut, I've sort of got an idea in my head that if they put your flushing water in, the flushing water would sit on top of that flap, fill the exhaust up, and then run into the exhaust valve, exhaust port, which is over here. And so I went down the exhaust to look at where the flap goes, and that's where it's supposed to be, in there, and it's not. So that wasn't the problem. So what I've had to do now is look a bit further into why this engine bent its push rods. And what I found, my next port call was, where can fluid get into a combustion chamber and do what you call hydraulic lock it? And that would be, the chamber would be full of water which doesn't compress. The pistons tried to come up, which has pushed the water against the bottom of the exhaust valve, stopping it from opening, and the push rod is bent. So what I'll do is I'll show you what I've found with my exhaust manifold. Okay. This is the exhaust manifold and header tank off of my boat engine. These are where the cooling pipes go on, because the exhaust mats, the exhaust ports. The exhaust manifold also has a cooling jacket around the outside of it. You see here, this is the thermostat housing, which is in the end of the exhaust manifold. These are the two sender ports thermostat sits in the middle, and those are the 2 bolt holes which hold the thermostat housing in place. Okay, the thermostat goes down in there, and then obviously the cooling hoses. Now this is the face that the header tank bolts to, and as you can see, it's all corroded away. So I'm assuming that water has leaked around here down into my exhaust manifold, and because the boat's tilted back on a trailer, run back into number 4 cylinder, which has flooded the cylinder. Now this manifold is pretty useless now. You can see there's naturally no sealing face left whatsoever. So the water from the cooling jacket is probably what's flooded number 4 cylinder. Now the corrosion, I think, is called from galvanic corrosion, because they're 2 dissimilar metals. This face here on the header tank, which is made out of cast iron, is pretty good. I've now cleaned off what's left of the old gasket, and it's pretty good. So that's where my water got in. In conclusion to what I've found is the water's leaked in between the face of the header tank and the exhaust manifold. Like I say, that's the water's run back, and it's sat in number 4 cylinder, and I'm pretty sure that that's happened while it's been stood. Somebody at some point has gone to see if they could get the engine running, whether they were interested in the boat or what, I don't know. They've tried to turn the engine over. As they've turned the engine over, that water that was in number 4 cylinder has caused it to lock up, hydraulic lock, which is what bent the push rod. So that's where I'm at with it. I've got to try and get another push rod now. That's a whole new dilemma for me. So thank you for watching. If this has been of any interest to you, or you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe if you want a bit more. You know, as I'm putting this engine together, I'm going to be putting this engine together, and then I've got to restore the boat that it's going in as well. So this is going to be an ongoing thing. So if you want to sort of keep up with what I'm doing, subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks again for watching. See you soon. Bye.